Jerusalem conference has many purposes, but if it's one of them is to get me to visit a friend for 35 years, it's already been a tremendous goal. The House of Representatives is a strange place. We have just started a series of votes, which is sort of why I'm rushing in here and to say a few comments, and then I will have to go back. As Emil mentioned, I was a Zionist before I was a Democrat. In fact, my first political memory, other than the end of World War II as a very little child, my first political memory is my parents dragging me to a place called Gilmore Stadium, since torn down, in 1948 to commemorate the birth of, the rebirth of the State of Israel. I've been in Congress for 27 years. Throughout that period, I have devoted a significant percentage of my time and my energy to working to strengthen U.S.-Israeli relations to ensure that Israel is secure. And as a Zionist, I have a deep love for Jerusalem. I certainly embrace the theme of this conference, Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. In fact, I have the privilege of visiting Jerusalem next week. For me, there's no city like it anywhere in the world, spiritually, historically, intellectually, and politically. I now want to just address a few points that some people, including perhaps people in this room, might not agree with. I want to confront one issue for you, and I think you should hear it, but I should say it. And that is that the Obama administration is not a strong defender of Israel. I could not disagree more, and let me tell you why. First, bilateral U.S.-Israeli contacts under the Obama administration have been regular and extraordinarily deep. Security cooperation, including on missile defense, has never been better. These last few days, there are more Americans participating in Israel in joint exercises with the Israeli Defense Forces than we have ever had before. And when Turkey decided to try and exclude exercises that would involve Israel, the United States was the first country to pull away from those exercises. In a few minutes, Ileana Ross-Lane, who I think you'll be hearing from soon. Oh, she beat me here. We will be going to the floor to try to win passage of a bill that labels the Goldstone report on Gaza as irredeemably biased and unworthy of further consideration or legitimacy. In so doing, we are reinforcing the policy of the Obama administration, which has already labeled the report as unbalanced, one-sided, and basically unacceptable. The administration has been stalwart in its opposition to that report, just as it was in its refusal to attend the Durban II conference, based on as it was on its own biased mandate, that conference. For an African-American president to shun a conference on racism because of its stance on Israel, in my view, speaks volumes about President Obama's friendship for Israel. President Obama went to Cairo to address the Muslim world, and while I was not happy about everything he said, or more precisely, what he failed to say there, he deserves great credit for describing the U.S.-Israeli relationship as an unbreakable bond, and for calling on the Arab world not merely to recognize Israel, but to recognize Israel's legitimacy. He described the Holocaust denial as baseless, ignorant, and hateful. I believe those comments were unprecedented, or at least nearly so, in the history of U.S.-Arab discourse, and certainly so when spoken to Arab audience in an Arab capital. I know that Ambassador Oren has himself particularly praised the statement regarding Israel's legitimacy. And I have to tell you, for reasons of my love for Israel, as both a Jewish state and as a democratic state, that I do support the position of the Obama administration, and for that matter, the position of the George Bush administration in favor of a two-state solution. In fact, that is a position that is now endorsed by virtually the entire Israeli political spectrum. The Obama administration has been in lockstep with Israel on strategic issues of priority importance to Israel. It has adhered firmly to the demand that Hamas renounce violence, recognize Israel, and accept all past Israeli-Palestinian agreements as a precondition for any participation in the peace process. And most importantly, the administration has taken a position strongly opposed to the emergence of a nuclear Iran. It is consulting Israel closely at every step of the way, and Israel is supportive of the administration's current course. In February, President Obama said he would use, and I quote, all elements of American power to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. I believe this administration is serious about preventing Iran from going nuclear, not living with a nuclear Iran, not constraining a nuclear Iran, but preventing a nuclear Iran. As everyone in this room knows, the greatest threat facing the region today comes not from the Palestinian problem, although when I read about Hamas having rockets that could hit Tel Aviv, I don't discount the seriousness of that problem. But the fact is, a nuclear Iran is the foremost threat. My bill would effectively bar from the U.S. market. The committee marked up last week, as was mentioned, an Iran sanctions bill that I introduced along with Ileana and something like 330 co-sponsors. This bill would bar the U.S. market any company that sells or facilitates the sale of refined petroleum to Iran or helps Iran maintain or enhance its own refining capacity. I see my bill fortifying the administration's diplomatic approach by demonstrating to the Iranians our seriousness of purpose. It also lays the groundwork for the next step, increased unilateral sanctions should diplomacy fail and should multilateral sanctions fail to materialize in a timely fashion. As I said last week at the committee's markup, I have one transcendent goal in mind: to maximize the chances that Iran, the leading state sponsor of terrorism, will be prevented from acquiring the capacity to produce nuclear arms. On this issue, on many others, I feel very strongly. I'm very honored to be with you, to see a number of friends for a long time, to meet some new people. I feel terrible because I would love to sit around and talk with you, but I think I have like a minute to get to the House of Representatives chamber to make this vote. And since it's about veterans and small business, I think I better make it. So thank you very much for your